Tonight, on part one of a very special Stakelbeck Tonight series, Digging Up the Bible, we're taking you on an unforgettable journey through the locations where Jesus walked and changed the world forever. From the Pool of Siloam, where he healed the blind, to the Pilgrimage Road in Jerusalem, where countless worshipers made their way up to the temple. We'll also explore the Church of the Holy Sepulchre and the Garden Tomb, powerful reminders of Jesus' death and resurrection. And we'll explore Caesarea Philippi, where Jesus declared his church would stand forever. We then head to Magdala, hometown of Mary Magdalene, and the site of an ancient synagogue where Jesus taught. Joining us on this journey is none other than Israeli archaeologist and tour guide Danny the Digger Herman, and it all starts now. Welcome to Digging Up the Bible on Stakelbeck Tonight. We're starting tonight's journey at one of the most remarkable biblical sites that's been recently unearthed, the Pool of Siloam. Now, this is the very place where Jesus healed a blind man as described in the Gospel of John, chapter 9. It's a site steeped in history and faith, and thanks to ongoing excavations, we're learning even more about its significance and the role it played in the lives of Jewish pilgrims during the time of Jesus. Take a look. This is the site of an active archaeological dig, what I believe is the most exciting archaeological excavation happening in Israel right now. And folks, that is saying something. We're joined by our good friend Zev Orenstein. This is the city of David. Zev, it is probably my favorite place in the entire city of Jerusalem. These steps that we are standing on have incredible significance biblically. Tell us where we are.
2004. All this is underground. There's a sewage pipe here, which explodes. And now you have a big mess. The municipality of Jerusalem has to repair the sewage pipe, so they send construction crews to do that very thing. But Jerusalem is not just another municipality. The city of David is not just another part of Jerusalem. And here, when a sewage pipe bursts, you don't only send in construction crews, you also send in archaeologists. And it turns out in repairing the sewage pipe, they uncover these stone steps going back 2,000 years. For a frame of reference, 2,000 years ago, time of Jesus. And they say there's only one other set of steps in all of Jerusalem that look just like these, and these are the southern steps. The steps that would have gone up to the temple 2,000 years ago, about a half-mile north of where we're standing right now. And so the archaeologists said, we know what those steps are. The southern steps, the main entry point up into the temple 2,000 years ago, time of Jesus. What are these steps down here? And they realized they had found the steps leading down to the ancient Pool of Siloam.
Wow. Now for me as a Christian, of course, I think of the Gospel of John chapter 9, which says that Jesus healed a blind man, a man who was born blind, right here at the Pool of Siloam. So that's New Testament significance, no doubt, Zev, 2,000 years ago, but significance in general for Israel and the Jewish people in Old, New Testament. I mean, Pool of Siloam is kind of where it all began, right?
In the Bible talks about 3 times a year. All of Israel has to go up on pilgrimage to the temple. We're talking about Passover, Pentecost, Tabernacles. Now, before you can go up to the temple, what do you have to do? You have to wash, cleanse, bathe, go to a ritual bath, a mikvah. Every journey has a beginning, has a first step. Where we're standing here was the first step of that pilgrimage journey.
Danny, great to see you as always, my friend.
An honor to be on your show.
Yes, digging up the Bible in honor of you. Hey, Pool of Siloam, incredible site. You and I have both been there, but some recent finds there, Danny, some new excavations. What's the latest?
20 years later, we finally get the approval to expose the rest of it, and everyone's so super excited. We're going to see the whole Pool of Siloam.
Yeah, this caused a stir.
Yes, and we didn't. The rest of it is somehow missing. Now, how do you explain it? Was it maybe recycled in later times? Maybe it was never completed. Maybe we got it all wrong. Okay? For every dig and every answer we might come up with to some archaeological quest, there are 10 new questions. And the latest on the Pool of Siloam, it's just been published, by the way, is that we have that corner with the white steps, but the rest of it there's just a big hole instead of it. I still think that's the Pool of Siloam. And I think those parts that are missing were maybe never completed or recycled later, but everything else seems to fit.
Wow.
But I got to tell you another thing that has just been published and only in Hebrew. So English readers have not even seen it, even if you went to the library in Jerusalem. The Tower of Siloam. Do you remember in the Gospel of Luke chapter 13, Jesus speaks about a Tower of Siloam that collapsed, killing 18 people. Now, he mentions it for theological and spiritual reasons, but as an archaeologist, I'm asking, can we spot that?
Yeah.
And guess what? Some archaeologist, Nachshon Zanton from the City of David excavation, just came up with a proposal that next to the famous Pool of Siloam, there are indeed remains, foundations of a tower from Hellenistic times that had to be remodeled in early Roman times, meaning it was destroyed in the middle, just as Luke says, just as the Gospel of Luke records.
We are standing on the 2,000-year-old pilgrimage road. This is the road that our ancestors, yours and mine, 2,000 years ago, that they would have walked on when they went on pilgrimage up to the temple. I call this the biblical superhighway. Not a road near here, not stones that look like these. This road, these actual stones.
Zev, I'm trying to just take a moment and take it all in. You ritually cleanse yourself in the Pool of Siloam, then you make the journey up to the temple. Unbelievable. And everyone had to do this. There was really no other way. If you want to go worship at the temple, you're coming
That's
here.
right.
Set the scene for us in terms of what it looked like, say, 2,000 years ago. Right now, of course, it's an active archaeological dig, as we said. But 2,000 years ago, hey, this place was buzzing with activity.
That's right. So you would have lining both sides of the pilgrimage road ancient shops, stalls, where if you need to get something for a temple offering, if you need to get a hat, a water bottle, a souvenir, maybe the temple tax, a silver half shekel coin, you're going to go into one of the stalls, one of the merchants, and you're going to get whatever it is that you need, and then you're going to continue up on your way to the temple. This was the beating heart of Jerusalem 2,000 years ago. Now, today we're underground, but 2,000 years ago, we're beneath the sky. This would have been outside 2,000 years ago, making your way up. And you know, in the Psalms, there are 15 chapters from 120 to 134 that all begin with the same words, a song of ascent. It is not just a spiritual description of the pilgrimage, it is actually a physical description. Because when you're coming up from the Pool of Siloam, ascending the half-mile journey, the schlep, half-mile schlep up the hill to the temple on the Temple Mount, you are physically ascending. It is a song of a physical ascent. But there's only one place in the world where you can see that, feel that, experience that. And that's when you're standing here in the city of David.
Welcome back to Stakelbeck Tonight and part one of our special three-part series, Digging Up the Bible with the one and only Danny the Digger Herman, all the way from Israel. And Danny, a place you and I have spent some time, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. You also have the Garden Tomb in Jerusalem, and there's a debate, okay, where was Jesus crucified, died, and buried? Which one, Church of the Holy Sepulchre or the Garden Tomb? Both amazing sites, but what do you think? What's the real site?
Well, the Holy Sepulchre has been built in the 4th century, meaning since the 4th century, that specific hill and the tomb are are believed to be the place of these events. The Garden Tomb is a suggestion, a proposal made only in the 19th century. But it doesn't mean that one is right and one is wrong. What you need to do is look at this from an archaeological perspective. And I have to admit, although the Garden Tomb is very spiritual, very compelling, the Holy Sepulchre archaeologically just has so many more arguments in favor of it.
Interesting.
Okay, and some of these arguments have been provided only recently. Around 2016, the different Christian denominations decided to make thorough renovations, more like conservation of the church.
And that's a key point, by the way, different denominations. There's many factions inside the Church of the Holy Sepulchre.
The fact that they agreed to do this, I couldn't believe it, because you're probably familiar with the story of the immovable ladder. There's some ladder placed above the main entrance at least since 1851, no one has moved it. Why? Because you're breaking the status quo. Yeah. But they actually agreed to renovate the church, and in 2016 they did some restoration work inside the tomb itself. The whole belief is that the tomb was originally carved into bedrock, right? But when you go there today, all you see is marble and tapestry. Is there bedrock behind it? In 2016, there was a very, very scary moment when they removed the slab of stone over the ledge where supposedly the body of Jesus was laid, and there was bedrock there.
Wow.
So the shape is right. It is in bedrock. It says that it was a new tomb carved into rock. The Gospel of Mark even points to the fact that when the Marys entered the empty tomb, it wasn't empty. There was an angel sitting inside telling them that he has risen from the dead. But it adds an important word. It says the angel was sitting on the right side. And that ledge in the Holy Sepulchre is indeed on the right side when you enter.
And you and I have sat on that ledge.
Yes, we were very fortunate to be permitted to film inside. It's not logistically an easy achievement, but we did it. And here's some really breaking news. The conservation project continues, and I've been following it in my visits. And wherever they go, especially around the tomb and around the Golgotha, they find a lot of brown soil, brown, good soil to be used for gardening. Why is that so important, Eric? The text tells us it was all in a garden.
Yes.
Okay, and this is good gardening soil. Now, they haven't published much yet. It's a project led by an Italian team. But the single article that I saw in a lecture that I heard just before coming here did not mention that brown soil.
Wow.
Maybe they're not even aware of the fact that this is not just, local Jerusalemite soil. It's a very specific type that you want to use if you want to create a garden. And
Amazing.
the Bible tells us the tomb, the Golgotha were both in a garden.
Yeah.
Again and again and again it fits.
Danny, I was almost nervous to come to this place because of its name. This spot was known, at least in ancient times, as the Gate to Hell. A bit menacing of a label, but where are we? This is Caesarea Philippi, of course, and this has major significance for followers of Jesus and much more. Tell us a bit about this site.
The locals call it Banias, which is the Arabic derivation of Paneon. Originally, this site was founded in the Hellenistic period as a place to worship Pan, the god Pan, that dwells in forests, dwells in caves, and he attacks passengers, and so they get panicked. Seriously, the word panic comes from this.
Wow.
Okay? But around the time of Jesus, the name of the site was changed to Caesarea Philippi. Philippos is the son of Herod. He inherits this part of his father's kingdom, and he wants to show the Caesarean family, just how loyal he is, so he changes it to Caesarea Philippi. Like Caesarea Maritima, this is Caesarea Philippi. So that's how it's named when Jesus comes here.
Pan was worshipped here, the Greek god, Danny. Also before that, Baal, the infamous pagan deity, was also worshipped here.
Well, we only have a hint for that in the Old Testament. The book of Joshua tells us that at the foothill of the Hermon was a place for the worship of Baal Gad. We believe that it may refer to this site, but we don't have historical or archaeological proof. But it was definitely a place of pagan worship of Pan, and then through archaeology we realize of also other deities. The excavations that were carried out right here next to the sacred cave, Eric, uncovered a lot of additional shrines. In fact, look over that niche. Beneath it there's an inscription in Greek attesting to the worship in the 2nd century, just shortly after the time of Jesus. Pagan worship was going on all along this wall, but the heart was undoubtedly in front of that sacred cave. This sacred cave was mentioned
Sacred to them.
Sacred to the pagans.
Yeah.
And Josephus also tells us that Herod created a temple to Augustus in front of it, whose remains might have been uncovered right here. But this site is soaking with paganism.
Folks, Caesarea Philippi is an incredible place. That's a place that Danny has wanted to take me for years, and we finally got there. And Danny, it did not disappoint. And you've got some more insights on Caesarea Philippi, right?
Yeah, first of all, it's so important because it's where Jesus appointed Simon Yonah as the prime disciple.
Yeah.
And he gave him the nickname Peter. Well, Peter is Latin, Peter is Petros in Greek, but the original Aramaic language in which I believe that they spoke it was the one that you should read, because then you understand the full play on words. You want me to practice my Aramaic for a minute?
Oh, man, please do.
Because that is probably what Jesus actually said. Apena amarna lake datawe kepa, walhade kepa, abdenaya edete, warte dishola, nexus nauhal.
And there we have one of the most famous and important utterances of the entire New Testament in Aramaic.
Yes. Now, the text says that it was said in Caesarea Philippi. Why there? First of all, archaeologically, we know that Caesarea Philippi, whose other name was Paneon, was a place swamped with paganism.
Yeah.
There were so many pagan institutions against some sacred rock, and there is a mentioning in a rock. But there's also a big cave, and the cave could be associated with Hades. And Jesus said that by you, Peter, being the foundation of my church, it will overcome even Hades.
The gates of hell. Yeah.
And the gates of hell, exactly. But here's a new insight. A few years ago, an Israeli team has dug in front of that cave, and lo and behold, they found a church, which means already in antiquity, they were worshiping, maybe the message in front of that cave, which fits with what we said. But then they found something really, really amazing. It turns out there's a water channel beneath the church that enables water to flow into the cave just in a specific height that there's always a rock protruding in the middle like a little tiny island.
Wow.
Maybe Jesus even pointed to that rock inside the cave when he said to Simon Yonah, you are now rock. You are like this rock. You are the foundation of my church, like this rock jutting out of the water in this sacred cave.
Gosh, so incredible. And a place we both love, Magdala. Speaking of Jesus, the disciples, we're heading there next, folks, to the shores of the Sea of Galilee. Our next stop, Magdala, a beautifully preserved ancient town on the Sea of Galilee. Now, it's known as the hometown of Mary Magdalene, and this site has yielded some incredible discoveries, including a synagogue from the time of Jesus where he may very well have taught. It's a place that brings the New Testament to life. Take a look.
Eric, look at this. This is a doorway into a public building at the edge of Magdala, which proved to be the ancient synagogue. It's actually off limits for visitors, but we got the approval. Watch. Okay, I'm putting my leg maybe at the very spot where Jesus put his leg when he visited Magdala and entered the synagogue of the city.
Danny, it's hard to take it all in. Wow, where we are walking right now, let me just gather myself and take a look at this amazing archaeological discovery. Not only archaeology, this is spiritual. This is God Almighty. As you said, Jesus himself very, very likely walked where we are walking right now. As a follower of Jesus, what a thrill.
Yes, this is really amazing, mind-boggling.
And a privilege.
And at the first, you have here a courtyard with a place where people could sit. Maybe this was a study room for children.
Sure.
Okay, maybe they sat around this stone where Torah scrolls were read and taught to the young kids. The adults would assemble at the main hall over here, which is set as almost a square shape, rows of benches around the middle, and in the middle, a mysterious stone.
Now, this was one of the big discoveries inside the synagogue. Amazing. Tell us about this.
This is still a big mystery.
Yeah.
We still don't know for sure what all of these symbols represented. The only thing we can identify with clarity is the menorah. What are the other symbols, however? It's a big mystery.
Yeah.
This is called a Rosetta design. By the way, the whole stone is a replica, needless to say. The original is so precious, it's kept in a safe place. Not only do we not understand the decoration completely, but also the function. Why would an ornate stone like this be placed here in the middle of the synagogue? It has also these knobs, which kind of hint to the horns of the altar in the temple, maybe. Only one archaeologist so far has suggested a possible use of this, and that it was a base for a pedestal. Meaning this is where they read the Torah, which
Makes
we
sense.
know is what they did some 2,000 years ago. Yeah. Let's sit for a minute and think about this. Okay, you are seated now on the 2,000-year-old sitting arrangement of an ancient synagogue here in the Galilee. The Torah would be taken out of the ark and someone would be reading it here to the audience. It's really a rare find from that time frame, okay?
So this is one of roughly 5 synagogues from this time period, 1st century AD, 2,000 years ago, Danny, the time of Jesus.
Yes.
Stakelbeck Tonight, my all-new nightly series on current events through a bold biblical lens. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below. Thanks for watching, and God bless.